Actually, put 'em on.
No, there's a glare. Good. All good.
Put 'em on.
When I think about the timeline with Jaylen Carter, we went into the offseason looking to extend him, looking to extend, obviously, JD, and kind of keep the strength of our team. That position group, not only with those two guys, I mean, Morrow, unbelievable player, unbelievable person for our team. BY took a lot of steps, and we got a young group behind that we're really excited about. And we felt like that was one of the strengths of our team, and we wanted that to be one of the strengths of our team going forward. The defense tackle position in the league, in college football, it's a deficient position. There's hard to find guys like that. And so we feel like it was a priority. Where the market was when March opened was kind of in transition. You had guys like Dex ready to sign, obviously Simmons. And so some of the reasons that it got to this point were just because we were trying to figure out the market. And from his perspective, he was trying to figure out the market. There hadn't been a big jump in the market. And so we like to do contracts in March and April, obviously, get that situated before we go into the draft, before we go into our summer. This was a unique situation. By the same token, getting this done before camp was important for all of us. Good things happen when you get things off your plate and you're able to focus on football. I didn't really answer your question yet, did I? Okay, you're fine. You're fine with that. I can't speak to the report. I didn't see the SI report. What's that? I would say this. I don't know what off-field concerns. Since Jaylen's been here, he's put his head down. He's worked hard. He's made huge impact plays for this organization, for this team. Last year, he wasn't 100%. He tried to fight through that and play through that. We understand that. Like anyone, when you're 25 years old, you're still growing as a person and as a player. I saw Zach Vaughn yesterday, and he made a great comment. He said to me, he's like, when I signed my contract, someone told me, you don't pay me for what I did, you're paying for me what I'm going to do. And that's why we do these deals. We don't do anything based on retroactive performance. We're doing things based on future performance. And again, we were trying to sign Jaylen in March, understood it was unique because of where the market was and where he thought and Drew thought it was going. But it was always positive, and we were always trying to get him extended.
Yeah, excited to have those guys back on staff, and we've had some great staffs here, and you have great relationships with all those guys. You always try to build those relationships, and obviously those two guys, Jamal's done a great job of doing a lot of the assistant head coach duties, and he's a really good person. I've always leaned on him. Now he has that title of assistant head coach, and man, he just does a great job with everything that he does. Same with Aaron. And naturally, we're doing a drill today, and this wasn't a drill that we did in OTAs. So it's like, hey, we're doing this drill today. Aaron, Jamal, Parks, why don't you guys kind of coach up what we're looking for on this drill? And so, yeah, there's little things like that happen every once in a while, and that you really value somebody that's been here in the past to be able to explain some of those things of how we go about it. But those two guys have been really valuable. Their players have played well. They're really good coaches. They're really good people. I've really appreciated having them on staff. Wash, Tyler Scudder, those guys have been here throughout the time as well. And it goes to show you just what type of coaches they are, right? And, that you want to continue to have them here, and you want to continue to, build that relationship and build that what they've done with their players. First of all, I really love the room. To have four guys that you're so excited about to be able to go to work with every single day, that just speaks to the way Howie and his staff have built the roster. So excited about that room. Everything is a competition. We'll continue to rotate with those guys with what we're doing. But that's not, Andy's played a lot of football. And Andy's played a lot of good football. So that has that doesn't say anything about what we feel about Tanner. Like Tanner has been here for 4 years and has played some really good moments, played some really good games, has so consistent at practice with what he does and the type of player he is. So we're really excited about that. But we also know that competition brings out the best in everybody. And so to be able to have a guy like Andy and Tanner working together and working to push each other to get better, that's only going to make our team better. But again, can't say how much I appreciate having Tanner and all the things that he's done and the type of player that we continue to think that he can be. So we're excited about that room.
Communication between BG and the Eagles, myself, first draft pick I ever made as a GM, has always been consistent. So those conversations, obviously, between us and every player, we're going to keep between us and the player. I want to be consistent with whoever that is, that we do that. But obviously, you're talking about one of the greatest Eagles players, unbelievable person. Last year, his ability to come back in and help us was huge for our football team. But again, those conversations we'll keep private.
Go ahead.
Do you want me to answer you and he can answer him at the same time?
Go ahead. First of all, just really happy for him and his family. He's worked his butt off to get rewarded the way he is, and like how he said, it's we're paying you for what you're going to do in the future, and we have that confidence in him. I've really enjoyed getting to know Jaylen more and more each year, and the time that I've spent with him, and he's put his head down, he's worked, he's made impactful plays, and we look for that to continue. And he's a heck of a football player that demands a lot of attention by the opposing offense. So to be able to have him locked up, and we know what that creates for the opposing offense. I know as a former offensive coordinator, the problems a player at that position with that talent creates and the things that you have to do for him game plan wise. And anytime you're just excited that portion's out of the way and you're able to go and focus completely on football. Which he has, which I give him a lot of credit. He's focused so much on football. He came back in phenomenal shape with his weight, with his conditioning test. So even with that contract still looming, he worked his ass off. And I'm proud of him for that, and that shows you the type of guy he is, and he'll continue to be, and excited for him to play ball.
I get you. Yeah. Yeah, he was lifting, and he has a pec strain. I think that one of the things that we know about Grenard is he's going to be ready to play. And I think training camp's so important, practice is so important. But when you have a guy like that who prepares the way he does, who has the experience in the NFL the way he does, he's going to be ready to play when we start the season. And we just – we want to be smart with all our guys and get them ready, but at the same time, acknowledge kind of the process that they have to take to make sure that they are 100% when they come back. And again, this is not a long-term injury. This is nothing we're concerned about. But when we can, we're going to make sure that, we take care of our guys and put them in the best position to have a great year.
Yeah, obviously you saw the PUP list, and then everybody else will be going. And again, two guys that have come back, and I can't say enough of what happened at our conditioning test yesterday. It was just, man, you just saw the complete focus of everybody, and you can't cheat the conditioning test. You can't cram for it in 1 week. And the whole team was just so locked in, focused. It seemed easy for them. And I know that test is hard. We've done that test plenty in these last 5 years. And they came back in great shape, those two guys included. Crushed it, and excited to get out there and work.
Teams take on the personality of their leader. Have you seen Coach Sirianni? What great shape he's in? You got Dom in great shape, Bob Lang in great shape right here. We got everyone's in great shape.
It's hard to change who you are. It's hard to change your habits. I know Frank Reich used to always say to me, no man suddenly becomes different than his cherished thoughts and habits. And I truly believe that. Like, you're not going to just instantly change who you are. And, they've been rewarded not only because they're good players, but because they know how to work and they know how to be an Eagle. Of all the things that go into that, I won't get into all those things that Howie and I look for, but it's like, hey, what does it take to be an Eagle? Oh, this guy's an Eagle. I think that's something that we can say with confidence. We say a ton throughout the year of like, man, this guy is an Eagle. And that's a great compliment that we know that Howie and I say that it's a great compliment to be able to pay to somebody. And so, it's hard to change who you are. And it's hard when that's what you do and that's what your habits are. So, no, my experience with that here has been nothing but positive. When the guys come in and they get paid, they continue to be who they are. And that speaks to who they are as people, but it also speaks to the culture that we have and the guys that we have in this locker room and the coaches that we have in this locker room and the leadership that we have on this football team, where you continue to put your head down and work.
Howie, trades last August for you. Is the roster similarly incomplete this year? And you have the fit surplus to be aggressive?
The roster is always a work in progress. Every day we're coming in, we're trying to find ways to get better. We're communicating with every team in the league to try to find fits, to see if there's opportunities to make ourselves better. And so it's certainly incomplete at this time. It will be incomplete throughout the course of the season. Any opportunity we have, and you look at our roster, you see, it reminds me of just, all the rooms that we have, that it evolves over the course of time. And that's not a reflection on how we feel about our players now. Excited about it. Can't wait to see them out there. But anytime we have a chance to get better, to improve our team, we're going to look at that. Staff. Yeah, I'd have Jeff Scott to that as well. It's bittersweet because all of those guys have put themselves in position to make career choices, to improve their lot in life, which you hope for people that you're really close to. But, I remember I was out to dinner with my wife at one point and just said it's going to be an adjustment for me. The relationships that I have with those guys, the ability to communicate, really the language, to be able to say things very short and sweet and them understand what I'm looking for. That comes with time. And they're three incredibly valuable members, all of those guys. When I came in on Monday, it was obvious to me, those are three of the four offices that surround me. And so it's a transition, for me, I have to evolve. I have to continue to get better and learn and to continue to develop people that are here. And I plan on doing that.
And what makes Adam very ready for that?
Well, I think in any job, in any role that you have, when you get promoted, it's an adjustment. Taking on responsibility, taking on different tasks. There's going to be a responsibility that comes with it. I think about when I first became the GM. I go, man, I'm ready for this. I've done college scouting, pro scouting, cap. I'm prepared, and then I got my ass kicked a lot. And so I think for any of these roles, you got to be in them and get the on-the-job training to be at your best. But he's incredibly smart. He's incredibly hardworking. He's learned from a lot of great people inside and outside the building. And I think the opportunity won't be too big for him.
A couple more?
Mm-hmm. Well, when you talk about it, general managers get hired and they'll stand up and they'll have these microphones and they'll say, "Well, how do you want to build your team?" And they say, "We want to draft, we want to develop, we want to re-sign." And since Coach Sirianni's here, that's all we've done. We've drafted players, we've re-signed our players, and when you talk about culture, that's the first thing that comes to mind with culture. If I do well, I'm going to get rewarded. I don't have to go somewhere else to do that. And so that's really a huge part of what we're trying to build. So we're proud about that. And that's going to be our first priority as opposed to getting into March and trying to go outside the building. The way that these drafts go about, it also allows you to structure your contracts in a way that you can continue to keep guys. Now, you're going to have to make sacrifices. You saw it in the offseason. We let players go that we care about, that we think are good players, that we think are really good people that fit. But we had to move on because, we have some game-changing players and people that are part of this organization, and we don't intend to lose. So I would say to our fans, if you're wearing a jersey with some of those guys on, with those names on the back, we fully intend for those guys to be here on the long term.
I think training camp has growing pains throughout on both sides of the ball, whether it's a new coordinator, whether it's an old coordinator. It's the way it goes, right? You want to make camp challenging. You want to make it hard. You want to make things difficult. So because when they're going through a shared hardship, that's when guys come together. And so, there's going to be days where the offense gets the best of the defense, and there's going to be days where the defense gets best of the offense. I'm not really looking at it in that sense. I'm just looking at it in everyday terms of how do we get a little bit better each day? How do we put the work in? And really, it's like, how do we put the work in to get better each day? Knowing that there's going to be ups and downs. I think we all want progress to look like this. That's not the reality of progress, right? It's going to feel like that, right? But generally speaking, it's going to go up and then you get back and then it's go up and then go back. And that's what you want the curve to look like, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to feel that way. And so it's important to what's important to do in those situations is just put your head down, control what you can control, and be faithful in the little things, because those will be the things that end up being big things at the end of the day. No, I think we have a stand. We're very proud that we make the job description very clear for each and every one of our players, and that we have a standard of what we do at each position. Obviously, there will be different requirements and slightly different job descriptions, but the standard remains the standard, and we'll continue to grade upon that.
Thanks, guys. Man, those Sixers, exciting time in Philadelphia.